Okay, we continue with the factors that could have led to the cooling of the Earth, hence forming the ice ages. Now, one of the last one is the changes in the Earth's orbit. Every planet in the solar system revolves around the sun at a particular angle. Always as it's turning, it turns at a particular angle. So there surely was a change in that angle at which the Earth was revolving around the sun. Remember, the Earth gets most of its warmth, the heat coming from the sun. So if that angle changes, maybe it presents now an angle at which the Earth doesn't get hot heat from the sun that much anymore. Hence, the Earth would mostly generally be much more cold, hence leading to the ice ages. Sorry. Now, when we look at the first part, where we say the movement of the continents, I spoke about the horizontal movement of these continents. This is the continental drift. If some of you have watched the movie Ice Age 4, not the one from Nigerians, okay, the normal American one, Ice Age 4. It's also the subtitle of that movie, Ice Age 4. That part is called Continental Drift. At the beginning of that movie, you'll see that the Earth somehow broke into pieces and divided, okay, divided to form different continents. Now, some of you, this is because that Earth, when it broke into pieces, created kind of deep furrows like valleys, splitting up all of a sudden. It means if there was a family somewhere, there were people, settlements around, they might get split off such that some of the people or animals are taken to different parts. And that's the reason why some of you till today, you are very, very angry with your ancestors, because you are asking them usually the question, when this thing was splitting up, why did they not jump to that side that was going to America? They remained here maybe in Mamelodi, Soshanguve, doing what? That's why some of you are so angry. Otherwise, continental drift, the Earth was first believed to be a big landmass. All continents were joined together as one. You can see the continents here are all joined together. They are more or less fitting with one another, like pieces of puzzle, because they have those fitting parts like jigsaw, fitting like pieces of puzzles that you have put together. If you look at the continents today, the way they are shaped, you will see here that is North America. Here, for example, it fits inside the armpit of Africa nicely. You can see here, we can see, like I'm saying, you can see North America fitting here in the armpit of Africa nicely. We can see the Asian continents fitting also, and the Antarctica fitting here on the side of Africa nicely. We can see Europe here fitting. We can see the Middle East also fitting nicely. We can see Australia also fitting nicely. It means they formed one big landmass that was called Pangaea. And Pangaea was then referred as the supercontinent. Now, for some reason, these landmasses broke apart and started separating. Hence, we now have the different continents. The first split divided Pangaea into two. Laurasia, the northern hemisphere, and Gondwanaland in the southern hemisphere. Sorry. Sorry. My enemies are busy. Okay. Now, between 225 to 200 million years ago, remember the figures are decreasing, coming to recent times, Pangaea started to break up, first to form two large masses, The first one, Laurasia of the northern hemisphere, like I said earlier, and the second one, Gondwanaland of the southern hemisphere. So we will see here, this is Laurasia in the northern hemisphere and Gondwanaland in the southern hemisphere. Well, later on now, Laurasia also divided into smaller continents, and Gondwanaland did the same around the same. Now we'll see Gondwanaland, which broke up into South America, that's our South America there, broke up into Africa, that's our beloved Africa there, broke up into Madagascar, Madagascar is somewhere here, India is more or less somewhere here, the Antarctica and Australian plate. That's how Gondwanaland broke up into pieces. On the other side, Laurasia also broke up into the continents of the northern hemisphere. These were North America. North America is here. Okay, North America is somewhere there. Broke up into Europe. Europe somewhere here. The Middle East, that includes Arab and Arabia. Okay, Asia somewhere here. China, Asia and China, all of them somewhere there. That is how the northern hemisphere, Laurasia, divided itself into the different continents. So, according to this theory, the Antarctica is in the southern hemisphere, around the South Pole. We can see it's very, very cold today. But the Antarctica was once close to the equator. The equator has moderate climate, moderate temperature. Otherwise, it's a temperate zone. With temperate climate, temperatures are not too cold, not too hot. It's kind of in between. Okay, so with such climate, with this kind of climate, life forms find a very pleasant environment. It means they can easily develop. More life forms can be found in temperate areas. A lot of biodiversity, a lot of organisms of different types, because it's a very flourishing environment. That's why it's full of, it's got a lush, it's got swampy vegetation with water. Okay, but then when Antarctica now moved from the equator is the line that cuts across the earth or across a sphere, passing through its central axis, dividing the sphere into two equal hemispheres. That's where the equator would lie. Okay, when the Antarctica moved to the southern hemisphere, because the southern hemisphere doesn't receive much sun, it means this area here moved to a very cold place. What do you think would have happened to the organisms there? Okay, there was a lot of glaciers that formed, glaciation occurred. Now, the temperatures went down very fast for those organisms. They live from an area with moderate temperature. They were used to the summer environment, let's say so. Now they went to places where there was extreme cold. What do you think would happen to them? These people were not used to this cold. They were not adapted to this kind of environment. Hence, they will die. Not just only one species will die, because all the species that were found around the equator back then were thriving because of the moderate temperature there. It means that is where they will best be alive. So then, exposed to very cold environment, all of a sudden, they will then die off massively. That led to mass extinction because of the rapid cooling. Okay, this is due to the drifting of the continent towards the South Pole. That led to that extreme cold. These organisms could not survive. That's what I'm saying. Life forms became extinct due to lower temperatures. We're not talking of only one species. We're looking at mass extinction. Okay, mass extinction took place. So it is believed that the first large-scale extinction took place around 438 million years ago and is associated with rapid glaciation. It means it was caused by the quick drop in temperature, rapid glaciation that occurred around that era. So these are diagrams that show how the continents were drifting apart. From how they started, Pangaea, how they formed two hemispheres, Laurasia and Gondwanaland. This is around the Jurassic era when Gondwanaland was changing, and this is around the Cretaceous era when the other continents were forming. Today, this is what we have at present time, present day continent. Okay. Now, how do we prove that all organisms were first probably in one huge big land? Come to think about it. When we look at biogeography, which is defined as the past and present distribution of individual species. If we now go to India, very far there, we will see elephants. We come far here in Africa, we will see elephants. We go somewhere in Europe, we will see elephants. Sorry, not Africans. I know some of you want to be in the show, okay? We'll see elephants, all present in different continents. The big question is, how did they get there? Did they just migrate? If it was about migration, okay, are we saying that elephants can now swim, that they can even swim through the oceans? Please, if you see an elephant in an ocean, you are in a boat or in a ship, you find an elephant passing you by in the ocean, please relocate, because it means that surely the level of witchcraft there has exceeded speed limit. Okay, you are almost about to die. So that didn't happen. If these elephants are present in different continents, the way we are seeing them distributed that way, it means that surely at first the whole continents were combined as one, Pangaea, and elephants were found all over. And when these continents split, the elephants were now carried into different continents. That's the only plausible explanation. It doesn't mean that somehow humans started transporting elephants on their backs and were crossing from Africa to Europe to go and look for what. Okay, so elephants were separated along with the land masses during continental drifts. I'm taking the example of elephants, but I'm actually talking about all other species of organisms that are found in different parts of the world, different continents. These are about animals, but also we find different geological structures. We find plants, identical plants and animals in different parts of the world. We have the example here. For example, we'll find them in Africa and in South America. To say that Africa and South America were once fitting together. So they just got split, and so the organisms also separated. Also, we see Madagascar, which is that little island around the base of Africa, next to South Africa, was once joined with Africa for the same reason. We find similar species in Madagascar as we find them in South Africa, for example. Okay, so it means all of these landmasses were once one. Now, the other theory that could have led to glaciation causing the ice ages is the theory of plate tectonics. Remember, with continental drift, I said the continents were drifting apart more or less horizontally. But with the plate tectonics, we're seeing something a bit different. The continents are now being pushed upwards instead. Why is that so? Because the core of the earth, the inside part of the earth, is very hot. And because of that heat, it tends to always push things outward. If you put if you close a bottle and you are warming it up, you will see at one point that bottle will crack because the gas is expanding too much to a point that it's pushing outwards, and then it will eventually crack the bottle. So the same thing has been happening with the Earth, but before cracking the continents apart, the plate tectonic theory came from the theory of continental drift as well. So before cracking the continents up, first the continents will be pushed kind of upwards. And as we are going upwards, what are we doing? We are gaining altitude. And remember, the higher you go, the colder it gets. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled that because you're going up, you're going towards the sun, you will get very hot there. No. Remember, there is radiation of heat from the earth, like I explained before, which bounces back, keeping this area here more or less warm. So when you are going outside, you are going out of this comfort zone, this warm zone, and you are going out, you are getting more and more cold as you are getting closer to the upper atmosphere. Okay, so when the earth was lifted up about 600 meters above in altitude, what happened? It became more and more cold. Okay, it became more and more cold as it was lifted about 600 for the past 15 million years. And because of this, it led to that extreme cold, it led to another ice age. So the ice ages were not just about continents moving maybe to the south and northern hemisphere and getting more cold because of the angle at which the sun is striking these regions, which leads to little sunlight in these regions. It was also because of the fact that continents were pushed a bit upwards to rise up like mountains, such that it gets cold. That's why if you go up a mountain, it gets extremely cold when you reach the top of a mountain. Like I told you guys the other time, I've been to the top of Mount Everest. It was extremely cold there, though some of you, because you are my enemies, you didn't want to believe it. It's not a problem, it's fine.